Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, let's talk about something that I see a lot. We've talked about this before, and anyone who's had a call with me, you will know what I'm talking about because we have talked about this. Tiptoeing around an avoidant enables them. It does not make things better. It makes things worse. And I have told you guys this, and a lot of you guys are still struggling with this one, and that's okay. It's hard because the tricky part is avoidants are so reactive that sometimes you end up having to tiptoe around them to some extent. But the issue is sometimes you tiptoe around them to such a point you're not challenging them anymore. Some of you guys, in calls that I've had, and of course everything's confidential, I'm just giving examples of things I've seen collectively. You will say, for example, well, I don't want to ask him or her to do this because I'm afraid that they'll be triggered. Or last time I brought this up, they shut down and I had to wait like a day until they reached out. But the reality is, let's just say this example, I'll ask something like, how long ago was that? And they'll say, yeah, it was a year ago and I haven't brought it up since. Okay, so they shut down for a day, kind of like through an adult tantrum to some extent. And I'm not even saying that in a bad way. I'm being genuinely honest. And you decided, okay, I'm never going to touch on this for a year and just suppress your feelings. What do you think happens? Did you just you reinforce them that what they do is working? I get it. Temporarily, you can do that because you also don't want to trigger them because what they're doing is not on purpose. But I would not ever recommend you wait that long, depending on the situation. That's why I say, if you want to talk about your specific situation, it's pinned in the comments, because this is just a basic example. It's easier for me to know the specific cases so I can tell you exactly what's going on, but this should help still. Waiting a year is probably not the best idea, unless it's a very specific case. Wait a couple months, maybe even a week, and then bring it up again. Soften it, build some rapport, say it a little bit differently, and touch on it again. You don't have to touch on it full force, but just a little bit. Let them get comfortable, test the temperature, get them comfortable with these topics, because if you don't, it's going to make it worse. They're going to get more uncomfortable with those topics. There is research, and I talked about this on my other channel, which we don't even need to get into because I don't talk about avoidance on that channel anymore. I've split it up where that's more general and then more for men because that's the more audience here. And then you guys are more predominantly female. So I do like more neutral attachment stuff. And then I'm going to put a little bit more female content as well for this channel. But what I talked about is there is research that avoidance, not avoidant attachment, but avoiding something increases anxiety or increases the lack of getting comfortable with these things. And so an example is, let's say you work out and you used to do, push-ups. If you take a break from that, you don't return back doing push-ups better than ever. You have to warm up to that. And so this is actually the same with our brains and our minds and how we think. Sometimes it can help you feel a little bit more refreshed, but if it's too long, all you do is get more uncomfortable about the potential of doing a push-up. And so it's really important that you balance when you say things and when you don't. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to get into that in more specific details, okay? So you may accidentally enable an avoidant without realizing it. And what happens is they think less of you and you don't get your needs met. And I want you to get your needs met, okay? And so the first one is you always avoid making them upset. You should not always avoid making them upset because they are a grown person and they can get comfortable with being upset because you can't always make the relationship perfect for them. That's not healthy because they're also not doing that for you. You have to find a balance. And we'll talk about how to do that in a little bit. But first, let's talk about signs that you're actually doing this so that you know where to start. The next one is you might expect them to know what to do instead of saying it because you feel like saying it directly will trigger them. That's another sign that you are enabling them and you're letting them kind of walk all over you. The next one is you let them go weeks or even months without seeing you, without directly addressing it to some extent. There could be realistic reasons why this happens. I've had calls with you guys where some of these things we've worked out and we're like, okay, it makes sense. And that's fine for now, once a month. Like long distance is like the most common example, right? You guys are like, oh, we're long distance. Okay, once a month, once every couple months, that actually is reasonable. That makes sense. But you still have to have a conversation of when you guys will meet. You can't just not do it. Some of you guys are like, oh, I'm scared because last time he canceled or I'm afraid that she's going to ghost me. I understand that. And you can take time to build up courage, but you can't just leave it like that so you're never going to see each other. I don't know if that's going to work. It might. Like I said, specific cases, but most of the time it's not. So you have to touch on this topic. And if you let them go weeks or months without seeing you or talking about seeing each other, this might be a sign you're enabling them. The next one is you apologize constantly and then you crash out when you can't take it anymore. Stop apologizing for something you didn't do. You can apologize for something you did do that's different, and I actually recommend everybody try and do that, no matter who you are. Anxious, fearful, dismissive, avoidant, secure. Apologize if you did something, but don't apologize if you didn't. You can say, I apologize for making you feel like that. That's okay. But you still don't want to do it too often, okay? So then we kind of establish, okay, maybe you or somebody enables an avoidant. So let's say that's the case. What do you do next? What do you do? So how can you heal so that they can respect you and your word? First, you want to speak directly about what you want while still being mindful of their low tolerance for pressure. So you're not going to say, I want this, and you keep repeating it. That will be a little bit overwhelming. But you can say, we haven't seen each other in, let's just say, a month. We haven't seen each other in a month. When do you want to schedule that? And let's just say they say, oh, I'm not really sure. I've been busy. And you can say, okay, I feel like you've been a little bit non-committal about this. Is there something that's bothering you? Can we have a conversation about it? And then you can open that gate up. You are direct. You are clear. And they can say, well, no, I'm not being non-committal. We can do that. And okay, fine. Hold them accountable. We can do that. Okay, let's schedule a time. And when it starts getting closer, hold them accountable. I'm planning for this. What do you want to do? Speak directly, clearly. The next one is you want to address to them your frustrations while willing to compromise. People get confused. They think compromise or address frustrations. Put them together. In fact, almost always keep them together if they are meant to be together. Like if you have both feelings at the same time. And I'll give an example of what that even means. Let's just talk about the canceling, meeting each other once a month type of deal, considering it's a very common issue that you guys are bringing to me. You can say, we just talked about it, but we can use that example in more clarification. I'm frustrated that you canceled on me. I'm willing to meet less often if it's easier for you, but I want you to compromise with me as well. I promise I am willing to compromise. Can we talk about how we can meet in the middle to resolve this issue? Okay, that's an example. See how they respond. If they don't respond well, what I always tell you is the same technique I always tell you. If you want to stay with them, that is, okay? You let it slide for a little bit. You can mention, okay, I am frustrated that, that bothers me, but we'll talk about it another time. Give it a little bit and then talk about it again, usually when they're in a better mood, and see if the needle shifts, okay? The next one is express how you would want them to compromise. Mention directly what you want from them. I'm disappointed. I would have expected that you would make some time for me because I know you care about me. And to me, that makes me feel cared for. I feel pretty bad about that. I hope that you can consider that option. Right now, I don't want to talk about this. You set that boundary as well. Okay, and the last one is you don't let something go completely if it's important to you. Never do this. Almost never. Depends on the situation. But most likely, don't do this. You can bring it up later when more rapport is built, but do not completely just hide a topic that you know is very important to you, because this relationship is yours as well. It's not just theirs. And so let's wrap up how we can fix this. Speak directly. Address frustrations while willing to compromise. Express how you want them to compromise, and don't let go of something completely. You can bring it up later, but don't let it go. I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.